What's up, everyone? So I was watching SportsCenter on ESPN earlier, and they had this really interesting segment that has Knicks fans very concerned about one of their newest players. There's been a ton of discourse surrounding the Knicks' newest signing, and some genuine fear that fans have had about the team's roster construction. Though the panel made it clear that all of this is actually part of a greater plan for the Knicks, and they broke down what that plan is and how it impacts two of the Knicks' key role players who are members of that top 7 core group of players on the roster. The show was just days away from the first Knicks game of the season at the time of taping, with everyone being a little under or over 48 hours away from tip-off. With that in mind, there's been a lot of discussion surrounding the Knicks and what exactly the plan is moving forward for this squad, and how they're going to approach a few different strategic decisions. There have been a bunch of questions raised about Mike Brown and what exactly is going to happen with rotations, but now fans are starting to genuinely worry about one of the Knicks' marquee signings over this offseason, and that player is Guerschon Yabusele. Hey, what's up, everyone? Real quick, before we get into all this, I gotta be honest with you about something. That like button makes or breaks whether this content reaches the people who need it most. So if you could do me one tiny favor right now and just hit that like, you'd be helping this channel in ways you probably don't even realize. I'm talking one tap, 1 second of your time, but it genuinely changes everything for the algorithm and getting this out to everyone. So please, just take that 1 second right now and smash that like button. It helps me continue bringing you this content, and I appreciate every single one of you who takes the time to do it. Yabusele showed up for the Knicks on a mid-level exception contract, not a minimum deal. He was the one guy the Knicks actually gave some substantial money to in that 2-year deal they signed him to. Yabusele is a pure power forward who plays the position really well according to the SportsCenter breakdown. He can shoot the 3-ball, he's physical, he rebounds the ball effectively. He put up 11 points and 5 rebounds last year, shooting 38% from 3. Those are great numbers for a power forward who fits this team's system really well. He's a very fundamental basketball player who understands his role with this team and is really good for creating a winning environment. He's an excellent leader who's not afraid to be vocal with teammates, and he's always ready to play with that New York grit and mentality that fans are going to love. Though fans have been a bit worried considering Yabusele is now heavier than almost everyone in the NBA. The panel referenced reporting that called him thick as a diplomatic way of describing his weight. Guerschon Yabusele weighed 265 pounds last season with the Sixers, according to ESPN and NBA websites. He now weighs 18 pounds more at 283 pounds for the Knicks. Yabusele, who's 6'8", weighs 8 more pounds than Mitchell Robinson, 14 more pounds than Karl Anthony Towns and Jericho Sims, and 15 more pounds than Ariel Hukporti. This has fans worried, asking the question, is Yabusele too heavy? These are the same conversations people had about Zion Williamson for a while, considering maybe he's just too big and ought to lose some weight, as it could affect his durability and performance. Now, the SportsCenter panel could go into all the reasons why his weight might be problematic for his joints and legs, but they wanted to provide context. Yabusele is jacked, built like an absolute freight train. He doesn't strike anyone as someone who's ever been skinny or thin in his entire life. One of the analysts made an interesting point about NBA players in general based on his courtside experiences at game. If you've ever gotten that close to the court, you notice 2 things about NBA players. 1, the height differential is wild seeing them up close. 2, they're all significantly thinner than you'd imagine from watching on TV. The analyst referenced sitting courtside at Knicks Bucks in New York, where everyone looked thinner than expected. Even Giannis Antetokounmpo. Same thing at a Lakers-Rockets game. The only person who didn't look abundantly thin was LeBron James, who's also incredibly jacked. Even Luka Doncic, who people joke about being out of shape, looks thinner than most regular people in person. These guys are very tall, which extends their frame, and TV cameras add visual weight. When you consider that context, looks can be deceiving from time to time. Now, the analyst wasn't saying that's always the case, Yabusele does look huge. He looks very big and jacked. He's clearly very muscular. But, as Mike Brown explained in comments about Yabusele, this weight gain is also about him playing center this season. That's truly what it feels like according to the panel's interpretation. Mike Brown mentioned he thought it was a great opportunity in the last preseason game for Yabusele to get some time at the center position. It's tough for him, and he was thinking a little too much, which naturally happens when learning a new position, and it kind of brought his game to a halt in other areas. Brown thought in the second half Yabusele's energy and activity level was a lot better as he started feeling more comfortable. But there's going to be a learning curve when mastering that center position. Yabusele himself acknowledged it's a pretty big learning curve in the offense and just the physicality of running the floor as a center. The biggest key for him is to just run all the time, try to sprint to the basket, and try to make other teams tired with constant movement. He had conversations with Coach Brown about what was happening in games and what Brown wanted him to do better. Yabusele said he's really trying to be as focused as possible to get every detail right and make sure he's in the right spots. For him, it's a new team with new teammates, so he really wants to fit into the system and be a solution rather than a problem. The panel acknowledged Yabusele didn't ultimately have the greatest preseason in the world, with some rough outing, but he also over the summer had excellent performances while gaining this weight, putting up 36 points in Eurobasket competition, including hitting 6 three-pointers. There were film breakdowns shown that should have fans excited about his defensive impact. One example showed Yabusele rotating early as a low man, stepping up to help, and absorbing a collision to draw a charge. It's a simple fundamental play, but many players are unwilling to take those body blows because it genuinely hurts. It's the most physical part of basketball. When you're a guy down on the low block and in the post, and Yabusele is going to spend significant time at the center position, he's playing the most contact-heavy part of the sport. When you're defending players posting up, they hit you pretty hard in the ribs and chest, with their shoulders and elbows through incidental contact. It's a contact sport, and if you can't handle that physicality, you probably shouldn't be playing that position. Gershon is bigger because he knows he's playing more center this year. He doesn't have Joel Embiid and Andre Drummond on his team, preventing him from ever playing the 5 like he did in Philadelphia. That's not the case this year with the Knicks. New York has Towns, they have Mitchell Robinson, who's not going to play every game due to load management, and they have Ariel Hukporti. Outside of those three, Yabusele is the next man up for center minute. Obviously, Jericho Sims is there as well on a two-way contract, which helps, but Yabusele is going to get meaningful minutes at center. That's just the reality. It's probably going to happen more games than not. Yabusele wants to be prepared to be an effective big man. He's not the tallest player vertically, so he's adding more weight and strength, so bigger players have a harder time moving him around down low. It makes complete sense when you understand the strategic reasoning. There's a rhyme and reason to this approach. It's not like his role is the exact same as it was in Philadelphia. It's different, so he has to use a different style of play. That's completely normal, and not something fans should be overly concerned about. The panel noted Yabusele is now the 5th heaviest player in the NBA. There's Zach Edey at 305 pounds, Jusuf Nurkic at 290, Nikola Jokic listed at 284, though that's probably inaccurate, Zion Williamson at 284, and Gershon Yabusele at 283. When you look at this list, outside of Edey, what's the common factor? None of those guys are traditional rim protectors. Jokic is obviously the best player on that list, and in the NBA. Edey is already a great defender, partly because he's 7'4". Zion Williamson isn't the world's best defender, but the key thing is, you absolutely cannot move him physically. Yabusele is doing the same thing, making it so opposing players can't move him in the post. Unlike Zion, who's at his best in transition running baseline to baseline, Yabusele can effectively play in the half court. The goal with gaining weight is making him more versatile. He doesn't look fat at all, according to the panel. He looks like he added muscle mass to his frame. He looks stronger and more prepared physically. He played extensively as the primary big man for France at Eurobasket, so he's bringing that international experience to the Knicks. If the weight gain doesn't work out optimally, he's a professional athlete who can lose weight relatively quickly. Pro athletes aren't like regular people. They have all the resources in the world to adjust their body composition. The Sports Center crew isn't concerned at all about Guerschon Yabusele's weight moving forward because they understand the strategic reasoning behind it. Another factor is that Yabusele is going to play more center than last season, and significant minutes, as a big man with Josh Hart currently dealing with injury, and Mitchell Robinson not playing every game. According to New York Post reporting, Mitchell Robinson and Josh Hart didn't practice on Monday, and new coach Mike Brown wasn't sure of their status for his first game as Knicks head coach. Hart missed the final 4 preseason games due to back spasm. Robinson didn't play in the last 2 contests due to what the Knicks termed load management, and he hasn't practiced over the last week. Mike Brown explicitly stated that everything they're doing with Mitchell Robinson is about managing his workload throughout the entire season. When asked if there was an actual injury to the 7'1" center, Brown indicated they're just being cautious with Robinson because he averages around 48.5 games played per season throughout his career due to recurring injury issues. Without Robinson available consistently, Yabusele is going to be forced into more of a traditional big man role. The panel's consensus was they're not worried about Yabusele's weight at all and are actually optimistic about what he'll bring. If he needs to lose 15 pounds at any point, they're confident Yabusele can drop that weight within 3 weeks if necessary. NBA players typically lose weight naturally over the course of the season anyway, due to the constant physical activity compared to the off-season when most athletes take a month or 2 off from intense training. So that was the full Sports Center breakdown of why Knicks fans are concerned about Guerschon Yabusele's weight gain and why the panel believes it's actual.